the Titans got an important home victory on Sunday, and it was definitely an impressive win. However, I still have their criticisms of them, and of course, I still have my criticisms on the team that lost, the Seattle Seahawks. Now, if you don't know how I do my videos, or if you're just new to this video, how I do it is I talk about the winning team first, and I talk about their negatives first, but then finish off on a positive because they deserve to finish off on a positive note. And then for the Seahawks, the losing team, I start off with the positives, but then end with the negatives because it was a loss, and that's obviously not good. If you only care about what my Titans analysis is, what the Seahawks analysis is, click in the description. There are some certain times. And if you really just want to be an optimist or a pessimist, you can just listen to my optimistic view on both teams or my pessimistic view on both teams or one or the other, whatever. You do you. So let's start off with the Tennessee Titans. Now, something about the Titans is their defense. They're definitely not a defensive-minded team. That's definitely kind of their weak side. Obviously, when you look at them, they definitely made some progressions. However, they did give up some garbage time, yardage points, etc. They just kind of gave up at the end, roughly at the end of the game. And I just thought that maybe they got a little bit gassed and all. However, the Titans defense is still a concern. And if there's anything that's holding the Titans back from not making the playoffs, it's their defense. The talent of the defense, it just doesn't really impress me that much. First things first, you got Logan Ryan, who's one of their big free agency acquisitions. He's really just a second corner. Then you got Adoree Jackson, who's their first round pick, who they're probably hoping to be their number one corner, but we don't really see too much of that. And then you got Jarrell Casey, who's a monster, but not really super impressive. Obviously, Arakpo and got some pressures on Russell Wilson yesterday, but that's still not a very good O-line, nor is Russell Wilson very impressive in the pocket. So he's not going to really help his O-lineman out from moving one direction to the other and just kind of move around. And so it's not exactly impressive. So yes, there is some talent on that Seahawks offense, but your defense just didn't do that great of a job. They gave up a lot of garbage time thing, and that's really putting on their defense as a whole. So that's something I look at, and I'm just not entirely progressing. The talent of the defense is the most concerning part of the Titans. I think that they should probably make a trade during the trade deadline coming up in Week 6 because I think it's going to be extremely important just to get that extra advantage. Look for a defensive player, maybe look for a safety here and there that might be on the market. Who knows? And to be honest, NFL trades they're going to be going up in the future. Believe me, I feel as if that be the direction as how teams are looking because you're hearing names like Richard Sherman being on the trading block. I'm like, that would be absurd if you heard like a star cornerback being traded like that like 10 years ago, but it's a lot different now. And also one thing about the Titans is they basically have Mariota, who has some promise. Obviously, he was a highly drafted quarterback, but he feels as if he just played as a game manager that day. I mean, he made some plays here and there, but that deep ball play to Smith, pretty easy. He was wide open. Sure, they play in the offense where there's a lot of separation there, but he really just didn't do too much out there. Now, was he bad? No, but I just saw a game manager out there. And in the goal line, he just didn't really dominate. And you're going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL, and in the goal line, you don't really see them doing much. Obviously, they had a lot of big plays there, but for their forte, their goal line offense really just wasn't there. And I feel as if they should be striving to be the number one goal line offense because I truly believe this is the best goal line offense in the NFL. And they never really even got to the goal line. So there is some concerns about whether they can drive up and down the field. And the Seattle defense just didn't look that great. I mean, Richard Sherman had 3 penalties in one day. I mean, that's kind of a lucky break right there. And if you look at, I want to say KJ Wright had 2 missed tackles. You're talking about very, very lucky breaks here and there. And it's just not ideally as impressive. Obviously, the Legion Broom is still great. It's just they just didn't look great on Sunday. Also, I really look at them, and I just feel as if when I come to this, the good part about the Titans is there's plenty of good. I know I was just talking pessimistically about them. And when it comes to this, they pressured Russell Wilson on with 11 pressures out on 37 pass rush plays, which is very, very good. I mean, they got the pressures in. They were pressuring him in and out. And Arakpo, he looks like he might not be the best in the world, but you got something there in Arakpo where he can consistently get there. And against a bad offensive line, he can have a good showing, which is a positive right there. Eric Decker plays. He looks like he's playing very well. He's a nice free agency acquisition, obviously a late free agency acquisition, but he's started to progress. And I think one thing for sure when you look at it, it's a complete offense and with the Tennessee Titans. Name one weakness or one weak point of that offense, because I can't name one. If you look down the board from quarterback, even though I'm tough on Marcus Mariota, and I still think he's overrated, click in the link in the description if you're interested. But obviously, you want to watch this video because you will keep on wanting that amazing analysis from me. You got Mariota, so you got a good quarterback there. Then you have a very good offensive line. You have a very good tight end and Delaney Walker. Then you have a very good running back core. Then you got some comparable receivers who look good out there. I mean, that's not a bad secondary. That's probably one of the best, if not the best secondary in football. Might not have played well, but hey, you're still going up against the Legion of Boom. And then you got that fullback in Dante and Fowler. I want to say I almost called him Dante Fowler, not the Jaguars pass rusher, but Fowler. He looked like he was definitely progressing somewhere. And I just feel as if when it comes to this, it's complete. It's a complete offense right there. Is every player at their position stud? No. But if you look at it, you should feel pretty confident in this offense. I mean, it's really down the board, absolutely complete. You don't have too many of those. You have a couple offenses where you feel pretty comparable at every position that you have, but this one, it definitely feels good right there. And also one thing about it, the offensive line for the Tennessee Titans looks phenomenal. You're going up against Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, and Sheldon Richardson. So you got like three Pro Bowlers on there. Marcus Mariota was only pressured 2 times out of 37 dropbacks. That's extremely impressive right there. This is one of the best offensive line units in the game, easily top 5. And I looked at that and think to myself that even their interior play, because obviously Taylor, Luan, and Conklin, they obviously get a lot of the hype right there. But the interior line went up against Sheldon Richardson, very talented guy, did a good job out there. So props to the Tennessee Titans offensive line right there. Props to them. And I really like how Derrick Henry was utilized a lot more. I mean, last year you felt like they drafted Derrick Henry in the 2nd round, but yet they traded for DeMarco Murray. And I thought definitely for one thing for sure about Murray is he's not a running back through committee kind of guy. Yeah, obviously Chip Kelly had like a 3 running back committee back there in Philadelphia, but you're talking about how on the Titans they're really going with these 2 backs, and then you got this Derrick Henry kind of there. Did a pretty good job out there, and I thought it was a good contribution right there. And so when I look at this, I feel like it's a necessary win for the Titans because they want to be serious for playoff contention. Being the Seahawks is one of those teams that it might not determine it, but at least it's going to feel good and at least feel confident about facing quality teams down the road. Now, for the Seahawks. Now, when it looks at the Seahawks, their offense is definitely going the right direction. Obviously, since the offensive line got a little bit better, so did the offense around. I mean, Russell Wilson played better. The wide receivers played better. The running game might not be there, but at least they contributed in the game somehow. Like C.J. Proside's got in there. Number 32, I'm kind of blanking on his name right now, but I think he's a rookie running back, but he looks like he's producing something right there. And also Russell Wilson deep ball looked like Russell Wilson's deep ball. And Russell Wilson, I think if you tell me Russell Wilson has the best deep ball in the game, I'm not going to argue that with you. He definitely does. And yes, I do have some criticism with Russell Wilson. Click in the link in the description if you're interested. I also got a Russell Wilson Andrew Luck debate. If you're also interested in that, click in the link in the description. But when it comes to Russell Wilson's, obviously I might not feel like he's a complete passer. I feel like his deep ball is phenomenal. His deep ball did look phenomenal there. It wasn't like the plays were completely wide open. It's like, no, there was a safety over the top and a cornerback. Timed it perfectly right in there. I mean, that's the that's the perks of having a center fielder out there playing quarterback. You got a guy who can really huck the ball deep. And I think one thing for sure is I think the receivers are progressing. You definitely have Paul Richardson kind of stepping up. I remember they drafted him in 2014. He really didn't contribute that much, but he's getting there. Tyler Lockett looked like he's somewhat progressing a little bit. And I think that's definitely something that's really good. And I think one thing is Doug Baldwin is a freaking baller out there. This is the kind of guy I look at, and I look at him like this guy's a true winner. I feel like if I feel like Doug Baldwin will win another Super Bowl under his belt, whether it's with or without the Seattle Seahawks, because the one thing I cherish about wide receivers is toughness. I think this guy's tough. He really plays hard. He tries to win out there. He isn't some sort of Sally out there. He's not Demarius Thomas. No, this guy's freaking legit. And this is why I'm a big fan of Doug Baldwin. Obviously, I just feel like when you have toughness at wide receiver position, it's extremely important to turn wins. Because, listen, look, I love Randy Moss, but Randy Moss was not tough. There's a reason why Anquan Boldin won a Super Bowl, not Randy Moss. It's because Anquan Boldin was tough and Randy Moss was not. And trust me, it hurts me to say that because Randy Moss is one of my favorite, or actually, he is my favorite wide receiver to play in this game. But I just feel as if he just wasn't tough enough. I did do a video where I played devil's advocate arguing with him as to Bill. Click in the link in the description if you are interested. But I just look at that. I think that's definitely something right there. That's definitely to look at. But obviously, Seattle lost, and I'm going to have to be a little bit of a pessimist right here. So the Seahawks struggle with a methodical game. I just feel as if they're trying to drive down a 2-minute drill, it's 2 minutes left, and you have to drive down 50 yards. So obviously, it's not that much. If it was 90 yards and they drove down 2 minutes and they scored, I mean, I have no problem with how they play. But when it's at the 50-yard line, you kind of want to burn the time off for the offense on the other side of the field. You probably want to burn off like a minute and 20 seconds. So like 80 seconds roughly. I think Seattle burnt like 45, so that's only half of it. And I feel as if you have a better short passing game, that can really help. So it can really help with clock management. And that's something with the West Coast offense is typically pretty good for, actually. I feel as if when it comes to time of possession, it can supply that. So it's nothing really with the offense that's concerned, but just doing a little bit of short pass. Because this is one of the big beefs I had during their Super Bowl, their last Super Bowl that unfortunately ended. Because a lot of people remember they should have ran the ball to goal. I think even when Michael Lombardi says, well, it was in a package where it's in a goal line defense, it would have been hard to run on, it's not the correct read, but it's Marshawn Lynch, he's a freaking beast of nature. We all get that. I think we all agree that they should have ran it on the goal line. However, how they got to the goal line was in a very improbable fashion. That Jermaine Kearse catch is insane, and I don't think that was the idea of the catch, but ideally you're not going to have plays like that to really get that close. So I just think that putting that in perspective, you have to be able to drive down the field a little bit consistent, just have a little bit more of that game. And they really struggle. Like sometimes they have run some concepts. They run the stick concept. Sometimes they do pretty well. Russell Wilson is pretty good at throwing the out routes. I think he's definitely something that has improved. And obviously deep down the middle, deep field, I've never been concerned with him with the deep ball. But that's something that really needs to be there because at that time, I feel like the game, the half ended at 7-9. The half could have ended at 7-6 if they took off more time off the clock. This is the issue about scoring quickly. And obviously, you can't really dilly-dally at the goal line. I mean, there's only so much dilly-dallying you can do at the goal line, which is a concern. So I just feel as if when it comes to that, you need to have a more methodical game so you can do some of this and just to really put advantage. Also, Rashard Matthews, who isn't a great wide receiver, he's pretty good. He's a little bit underrated. A lot of people don't really talk about Rashard Matthews. I mean, I don't really care about Rashard Matthews, but he made them look silly out there on that one wide receiver screen. He made the defense look silly. I mean, no one could freaking tackle the guy. And it's not like the guy just outran them. And the one thing about the Seahawks was when they had their 2013 defense, and their defense is still great. However, they were known for pursuit and tackling right there, and you just did not see that the other day, just because Rashard Matthews, he's not incredibly fast. I mean, he had some nice jukes here and there, but the Seahawks couldn't finish. There was no pursuit out there, and that's something that was really cherishable about that 2013 defense. I think the 2013 defense probably had the best pursuit that I've ever seen in a long time, and it had really good tackling, but it's just not there. And and then when it comes to this, I feel like the offense, yes, it did progress. It definitely did look better. However, it looked hot in garbage time. It looked hot in garbage time. I mean, there's only so much I can say. And statistically, Russell Wilson, you're looking at 4 touchdowns. That's very impressive. I believe he was 22 for 49 on passes or 20 for 49, so he wasn't very accurate. And at the end of the game, he's scoring in garbage time. It's like, there's only so much I can say. If he wins the game, though, in that fashion, I mean, props to him, but it just didn't happen. There's exploitation on special teams. I mean, without that one hold or legal blocking back, whatever it was exploited. They were exploited. But Joey Jackson had like an 80-yard return, obviously, but there was a hold right there. So that's definitely something to look at. And I feel as if that's definitely a concern, especially when you have Tyler Lockett on special teams. I feel like he should be stepping up. I mean, this guy, I wouldn't say he wasn't a super high draft pick in 2015, but he was a guy they kind of expected to step in here as a professional NFL returner and one of the real threats in this league. And I'm just not seeing that from Tyler Lockett. And I like Tyler Lockett. I like the idea of special teams. I think special teams is cool. I love return touchdowns. I love them to death. I mean, how can you not like the return touchdown? Well, unless they happen against your own team. But that's something that I definitely think there's also, the Seahawks defense was exploited on outside runs. This is a problem. The Seahawks not having Bruce Irvin there can be a little bit of an issue because it looks as if like Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill, I'm not sure. I feel like they're just maybe just pure pass rushers because it feels as if that are they not setting the edge right there? Is missing Bruce Irvin as a linebacker not there? I know Richard Sherman's great on as a run stopper. I mean, the guy can get tackles. I mean, in 2013, he had 49 tackles. So the man can, if you look at this perspective, why are they getting exploited on outside runs? And this is an issue. This was an issue back in 2016. This is something I started to notice against New England. LeGarrette Blount, who I find to be a scrub-killing running back. He's more of your scrub killer kind of guy you kind of have there as a running back as committee, but he can be effective. He can be a 1,000-yard rusher. But LeGarrette Blount's a scrub killer, and he got like 100 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Seattle Seahawks defense. I'm just thinking to myself, why is the Legion of Boom giving this up? And it looked like DeMarco Murray made them look silly, and the offensive line made them look silly. And Derrick Henry, who I felt really broke out this game, this is one of his best games I ever remember him as a pro, really broke out. And sure, he's going up against the all line, but this is the Seattle Seahawks defense. The Seahawks are built on defense, and this is why they lost the game partially. And when I look at this, I just think to myself, there's just some concerns right here. One thing for sure is I feel as if Russell Wilson's statistics, you can say, don't really matter to the Seahawks whether they win or lose. It's just I'm not sure if it really matters because in 2013, Seattle Seahawks, obviously, Russell Wilson, he didn't need to have a great game out there. I mean, they could have just won on that simple, on that safety in the beginning of the game, and then that pick six by Malcolm Smith, they would have won the game 9-8 if they didn't score for the rest of the game. So I just look at that, and then in 2014, Russell Wilson has a good game against the New England Patriots. Obviously, he threw that interception once again, but it's a controversial play call as hell, and it just doesn't matter. I'm not sure if Russell Wilson's success matters to the Seahawks. Now, obviously, I did rail on him. If you thought Russell Wilson had a good game today, well, then the Seahawks' success don't matter to them. But I think that if Russell Wilson plays well, I think it should elevate the Seahawks, but I still didn't think it played well. So you can really go back and forth on that argument if you want. I think that's definitely something to take note of because this is his third year of his fourth-year contract. Next year will be his 1 year left, and I know that's concerning because that's determined if they're going to re-sign him right away under that, which I think they will. or also just how the NFL is going, he might get traded. You can see him get traded somehow. So obviously, I don't think he's going to get traded mid-season, of course, but I'm talking about future offseason. So that's definitely something right there. And also on another note, Richard Sherman, the Richard Sherman's hit on Marcus Mariota did not deserve to be penalized. Obviously, a lot of people thought that it was a cheap shot on Mariota. It's not a cheap shot, okay? If you're a quarterback, if you're going to get rolled out, you're going to get hit. This is one of the arguments. This is why Cam Newton is sick of rolling out because he just doesn't want to get hit, which I understand, but if you're a quarterback, you're going to roll, you're going to get hit. You're talking about why doesn't Tom Brady get hit? Because Tom Brady doesn't run. Tom Brady is just kind of just stands there for the most part. I rarely see Tom Brady run. I mean, that's the difference right there. If you're going to roll out the pocket, defenders are allowed to do a lot there. And Richard Sherman was smart on that play about how he did it. He didn't aggressively go out there. He kind of shaded it a little bit, kind of gave him a little shoulder hit, but it looked like he was kind of fading away, realizing he was going to go outbound. So it looked like Richard Sherman, he didn't have enough reaction time for that. And sure, Richard Sherman gets a bad rep in the NFL, but he's not a dirty player. Okay, he trash talks, sure, but he's not a dirty player. And that's definitely something I want to just bring up before I go. And also, before I end, Seattle Seahawks running game needs to be better. Only 69 yards rushing. Seattle's a running team. I think rushing yards definitely helps the offense out. I think that their rushing yardage total is good and good consistently throughout the game. If not came from garbage time yard, I think Seattle will win that game usually most of the time. But overall, when I look at this, good win by the Titans. Very good win by the Titans. They still, even though I crapped on the Seahawks right here, it's still a good win. And they won it at home, and I think it shows a lot of importance right there. And not only that, the Seahawks, we've seen 1 and 2 before. We have seen 1 and 2. There's an article in the description. There's actually a bunch of articles in the descriptions, and I talked about both with negative takes and positive takes on both teams. And also, I'm going to have a YouTube video on like Titans pessimism, I guess. I had to find. I'm trying to find a pessimistic article on the Titans at this time, but I will have it up by when this video is up. But when I look at this, I feel as if 1 and 2 of the Seahawks doesn't really matter. I mean, they can still make the playoffs. They still can. It's not the end of the world. It isn't Armageddon. It isn't. September 25th might have been what was considered. They thought the world was going to end on September 25th, I guess, but I don't think the world ends for the Seattle Seahawks. But overall, guys, what do you think of the take on the game? I might do another take on the game tomorrow. I'm going to do one on Cowboys Cardinals. I think that will be a good one to do a take on. But overall, guys, thanks for watching the video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.